Hey there, Critter Trades here, and today I'm going to teach you how to do an oil change on your first and second generation Subaru Crosstrek. So this is actually a 2012 Subaru Impreza, and this will actually cover all Subaru Imprezas and Subaru Crosstreks from the year 2012 plus all the way up to 2021. They use the same motor and everything is set up exactly the same. The only main differences is I think around 2018 for the new generation, they switched from I believe a 17mm drain plug to a 14mm drain plug. So that's the only thing that's different. Everything else is in the exact same locations, same oil type, same procedure for both. If you're new to the channel, I do a lot of Subaru Impreza and Crosstrek specific stuff. I also do a lot of winter driving, traction control tests, fluid film, rust prevention stuff. So consider subscribing please, as it's super helpful to me. So here's everything you're going to need to do this change. You're going to need a oil filter. I believe for the Impreza it is PH7317. That's Fram. You can look up what you need for if you're going with a different brand. You will need 0W20 full synthetic motor oil or your preferred brand and type of incorrect oil. And you will also need a wrench to get the drain plug out and put it back in. It is a 14 if it's 2018 or newer. It is a 17 if it is 2017 or older. And again, you'll need a torque wrench to torque it to correct spec, or you can just ugga-dugga it. And you'll need something to dump your old oil into, and you'll need a funnel, or you can just try pouring without a funnel into your oil filler, which is a risky but bold move. And you'll also need a jack or a lift or ramps to pull up so you can access your drain plug underneath. If you have a Crosstrek, you might be able to skinny under there and get it, but you will most likely need to raise the car. If you're using a jack, make sure you use jack stands as well for safety so you don't crush yourself. And I suggest using the parking brake or a block underneath. All right, so you can pull the hood release inside underneath the driver footwell, pull over on the tab, lift up on the hood. You're gonna have your little stick here. You're gonna pull this up, put it in the hole, make sure it's secure before you let go of it. Then you're gonna need to get your car up in the air, unless you're gonna try and sneak under there with the Crosstrek. All right, if you go right in the direct center, there's a little lift plate. It's right behind where the skid plate kind of ends. The skid plate is plastic. Do not lift up on that. You're gonna go to the metal part a little further back. It's pretty far under there. It's in the very center. You can lift the entire front of the car using that lift plate. Again, make sure it's not on the plastic splash guard. It's gotta be on the metal part just a little further back. And again, it's way back there in the center. Another quick tip, you're gonna wanna have your jack kind of off to the passenger side on the left, and that way you can have the oil come out and fit your oil pan underneath there and catch the oil so you don't get dirty oil all over your jack. So you're gonna wanna tilt it a little bit to the left. Make sure you get your jack stands before you go underneath there so you don't crush yourself. I like to set the car down just lightly on the jack stands, and again, they go under. There's a little pinch weld right here just behind the fender, and you can see it when you go under there. Next thing you're gonna wanna do before you start draining the oil out is you wanna make sure you have the oil cap loosened. That way it doesn't create a vacuum and the air can come out the top and the oil goes down the bottom. Otherwise the oil will kind of glug out and it won't come out super fast too. It'll take a lot longer to drain the oil. Okay, this is super important because a lot of people have been known to empty out their CVT fluid. Do not empty your CVT fluid. It's a pain in the butt. You either have to tow it to the dealer or you have to go and get Subaru CVT fluid from the dealer, fill it up before you can drive it. So be very careful. The drain plug for your oil is directly in front of this little plate here where you can lift it up from. There's a little cutout here and it's right in that hole. Your CVT is back here. Don't go back there. It's in front of the plate in a hole in the splash guard. You don't need to take any covers off. It should be wide open. It's right here, okay? Right in the center. I'll loosen that bad boy up. Most important now is when you're unscrewing your oil drain plug, is that you don't drop your drain plug in your dirty oil pan, because then it gets all messy and you gotta fish it out of there. Just be careful of that. And the best way to do it is push it in while you loosen it until you see oil start to drip and you know it's almost out. Keep pushing in, and then you should feel the threads kind of bump out and bump in. That's when you know it's completely loose. And then you're just gonna pull really quick. The faster you do it, the better, because you're a lot less likely to get oil all over you. Here we go. Yeah, it didn't work. It never does, so good luck. While this is happening here, you can go ahead and switch out your oil filter on the top. You'll be able to get your oil filter off by hand. If not, you can use a oil filter wrench. Should be able to come off by hand. Might need to move the cap a little. There we go. Try and let most of the oil drip out into there. You can just tip it up. There shouldn't be much in it if you haven't been driving it recently. Now if you notice here, there's no O-ring here. That means it came off of the filter and it's stuck on the plate. You have to get that off. If you leave that on the plate there and put your new oil filter in, it's gonna leak and spray oil out everywhere. So make sure you get this O-ring off of the plate. Usually they don't come off, but occasionally they will. So I just tip the oil jug up and get a little bit out of the cap like this. Let's put it on the seal here. Just like that. Don't need a whole lot. And when you put your new oil filter on, go down until it stops turning, and then you want to do one full rotation. So see where the logo is. Spin it all the way around, if you can, to where it was at. Get much old oil on there. If you have a new crush washer, you're gonna want to put that on. I've replaced it a few times here and there, but I've never had any issues with it leaking or anything. You're supposed to put a new crush washer on each time, and then this will get torqued down to 30 foot-pounds. All right. So you go until your torque wrench clicks, unless you got one of those fancy electronic ones, and you probably know how to use it better than I do. If you do. After click, so there's 30 foot-pounds. Go back on top and fill it with oil. I like to use a clean and a dirty separate oil funnels. That way you don't have to keep cleaning out your clean one and using dirty oil, and you can wipe in your dirty one down all super clean. So it takes 5 quarts. Just gonna pour the whole thing in there, and then we'll be good to go. Got my drain plug in, got my filter on. Now before you check the oil level, you're going to want to start it first. So you're going to probably want to put it down on the ground, turn it on real quick just to make sure that the oil flows through and fills your filter. Then you're going to check your oil level. Check underneath to make sure there's no leaks, because once it gets pressurized, if there are any holes or leaks or anything that you messed up, it'll definitely be shooting oil out, so you can see that pretty obviously. And then you're going to want to check your oil on the dipstick. Oil dipstick out, you're going to wipe it clean. And then your oil should be towards the top hole. There's 2 holes on the dipstick. Your oil level should be up towards the top one. With new oil, it's kind of hard to see, so you might need to get it in the light to get a glare off of the top. Looks pretty good actually. It's almost 3/4 of the way to the top, so we're good to go. I'd check it another time pretty frequently after your next trip, just to make sure again that nothing crazy is happening. Again, if you liked what you saw, please subscribe because it's super helpful. And one last thing I'm going to say, if you're having a little trouble with these motors because they're known to burn oil, if you're burning more than 1 quart in 1,000 miles, you need a new short block basically. So you're going to have to try and either go through Subaru or pay out of pocket for that if you're out of the warranty. Either way, I would call Subaru of America if you're burning that much oil. If you're burning about 1 quart in every like 3,000 or 4,000 miles, meaning your low oil level light comes on in that time frame, that's pretty normal for these engines. If you're concerned about it, you can't get Subaru to help you at all. I ran 0W40 full synthetic oil for about 15,000 miles. I had 0 issues, no check engine lights, no issues at all. It burnt oil a little bit less, but it wasn't really that big of a difference, honestly. I think instead of the oil light coming on 30,000 miles, it came on at about 4,000 or 5,000 miles. So it helps a little bit. It's not gonna fix anything. It's kind of more of a Band-Aid, or to help push that, kick that can further down the road to when you actually need to fix it or replace the motor. But it's just something to look at. And again, if you don't have any other option, just constantly adding oil, trying 0W40 it's not gonna hurt your engine anyway. It's not gonna be that big a deal to switch to that. So again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one.